Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I just finished setting up an irrigation system for my figs here in my property in Newcastle, California, and I used a gravity feed irrigation system. It basically has water in a tank, and then the tank is at a higher elevation, and then a valve opens, and that just allows water to flow down to the figs. It's my first time setting up a system like that. This is just something that I'm going to use probably this year, and then next year I should have a nice orchard-wide irrigation system that I'll have online, hopefully. But I need something for this year because I really need to have like an automatic watering setup, because it just takes a long time to water figs every day when you have a lot of them. So this is my first time setting up this type of setup, and I took some videos of the setup and the results, so hopefully you guys enjoy the videos. This is my new IBC Tote. I'd never seen these before, but they're pretty popular actually for kind of a water tank that is a little bit bigger than, like a bucket, but not as big as like a 2,000 gallon storage tank. So this was kind of what I was looking for, this size. This is a 275 gallon tank. They also sell, I think 350 gallon is another common size that you see for these. And you can get these pretty cheap used. New, they're not super cheap, but there's lots of used ones out there. You just got to be careful with what was stored in it previously, because some of the stuff is, non-toxic, some of it's food grade, some of it's toxic, and so you need to be careful about what was stored in it previously if you're going to use this for like growing or for food type stuff. So this one here was previously used for juice, so it probably has a lot of like sugar and stuff in it, but hopefully nothing toxic. So I'm gonna use this for my new irrigation system. It's just a temporary system that I'm gonna use to water these figs that I'm in the process of uppotting until I get my permanent irrigation system set up. I got to dig a well before I can do that. So this is the system I'm going to use for kind of this growing season here in Newcastle, California. And it's just going to be a gravity feed system. So one thing I've got plenty of here, I don't have a whole lot of water, but one thing I've got plenty of is elevation. So I've got the tank kind of towards the top of the property here, and I'm going to put the figs down here, and then I'm just going to run a line down there, and the change in elevation will provide the driving head to create flow from this tank down to the figs. So what I'm doing right now is I just filled it up with irrigation water. You can see the color of the water here, not that great, but that's just silt, and it's certainly not drinking water. It's got a lot of sediment and just stuff in it, but it's good enough for the figs. So what I'm doing is I just filled it up, and I'm just flushing this out. I'll probably do this a couple times. This, for anyone wondering, this irrigation water actually comes from down there, where that green is. You can see a green line. You can see the brown and then the green. The transition to the green is where there's water down there. So there's a creek down there, and there's kind of a low-lying area that has real wet soil. So that's where that green area is down there. And there's a couple pumps, and they pump the water underground through a pipe. It comes up the hill to the house here, and then we can pump it through the hoses. So that's what this is here. It comes from the creek, and that's why the color is what it is. But I'm just going to use that to flush this out, get some of this. I don't know what kind of juice it was. I don't know if it was like a high fructose corn syrup type juice, or it probably wasn't like a fruit juice. So I'm just going to flush this out a couple times, try to get some of that residual sugar or whatever out of this thing. And then I bought an irrigation kit, so then I'll hook that up, and this thing should be ready to go. Alright, well, I got this adapter in the mail today. It's on there tight. So this goes from a 2-inch connection down to a 3/4 inch hose thread connection. So now I'll just connect up the Irritec timer that I have here, and should be all set. Alright, so I'm just filling up the tank now. I got the timer on there. Let me get some batteries so I can turn it on, but basically it has a set point here for how frequently you want to have the thing running. So, you know, you can set it to 6 hours or 8 hours or 12. So that way it would go off at that periodicity. And then this one is how often it goes off. So, you know, if you want 1 minute or 3 minutes, you just set that. So, and then this is a T filter. I'm not sure what the mesh is on it, but basically the filter goes through, and then this is the filtered water that comes out like that. So I'll go ahead and hook up some line or some hose to that and run it down the hill, and then put some fig trees down there and see if this works. Well, I'm sure it will work, but I'll just test it out. The kit that I got from Drip Depot had a bunch of different parts with it. It was pretty much all 1/2-inch stuff, so some 1/2-inch hose and some 1/2-inch connectors. I got a lot of stuff from before. Some of it I can use. Most of the stuff I used before though was 3/4. So I'll save that for later, I guess. But you know, this line and stuff I can use. So I'll go ahead and get this set up. Okay, so I ran this hose down the hill here. I need to try to create a line that's about the same elevation across, because the hose basically, I think the way this works is the hose basically just is open into the pot, and so, you know, the water turns on, flows down the hose, and then it just drains into the pots basically. So they're not pressure compensated or anything. So I want to try to maintain a similar sort of elevation so that I don't have, you know, certain pots receiving a lot more water than others. So yeah. All right, so I cut up all these pieces of the small line, and now what I'm going to do is puncture some holes in the main line tubing and connect these smaller lines up to it. And then I'll just put the end of the small line into the pot, and that should be it. Got my Drip Depot lollipop. And now I'm just putting on these little clips, and they clip onto the micro tubing, and then just goes in the pot like that. And that holds the hose there in the pot so that it'll so the water will go in the correct place. So let me go move a bunch more pots down here. All right, well, I got some figs set up now. This is probably all I'm gonna do tonight. Obviously not all of these are figs. This is an Asian pear, and then that is a persimmon. So I figured they're probably not going to get damaged so much. I tried to pick some of my larger figs here because, well, all my figs are pretty small, but I tried to pick some of the larger ones just so that they wouldn't be damaged in the event that the water was more than I expected, like the amount of water coming out, because I'm not really sure. That timer is not super exact, at least it doesn't appear to be real exact. So hopefully these will be all right. I think they will be. I think these are all in pretty good shape. So now I just need to try to see if I can get see if I can observe this thing in action. I'm not sure if I can manually activate it or not. I set it on a 1 hour interval just so that I could hopefully see it go off, but I forgot to open the main isolation valve, so obviously no water came out. All right, let me see, maybe there's a way to manually activate this. Reset. I don't know what that did. Oh wait, here we go. On. Turned it on, but I don't see anything happening. Oh, there we go. It was the battery. Battery indicator. The battery wasn't on. Ha! Okay. 1 hour on. Oh, there it goes. Okay, nice. Now I'll turn it off. Awesome. Okay, let me tighten that up. Okay, now I will do on. It's definitely flow. Let me go see how this is looking down here. Yep, there we go, we got water. Look at that. Oops, I missed one. I gotta go get one more pot. Look at that. Ah, water for my thirsty plants. Very nice. Of course, it's not really like spraying it all over, you know, but it should be good enough. Good enough for now. I mean, it's giving them water. Yeah, that's nice. Look at that. Gravity feed irrigation system. I might try putting some, I did get some little dropper type things for the end of that, but the filter, the water is dirty water. It's not filtered well enough. It's supposed to clog up those little droppers. So that's why I didn't put them on there. I have them, but I also have a big filter that I bought. Actually, I guess I can show you the filter. Let me shut off this thing. I'll put it on the timer now. Okay, I'll do 1 minute every, I'll do 12 hours for now. A little cautious about that. There we go. That's a lot of water in that tank too. That'll last a long time. So, yeah, I'll show you this filter I got. So that whole system is just a temporary system. You know, just until I get my real irrigation system online. But look at this. Look at this filter. Isn't this awesome? It's giant. This is, look at that. Wow, look at the size of that thing. In fact, this filter right here cost about as much as the rest of that irrigation system. Well, except the tank. The tank was also not super cheap. And here's the droppers right here. Yeah, so this giant filter is Irritec. I forget the name of it, but it's their big one that there's a video on Drip Depot where they show this. And basically, this is a really nice filter. It's got some gauge connections here, so you can view the differential pressure to determine when you need to replace it. Inside of here is a 120 mesh filter, so this would reduce the particulate down low enough where I can use these dropper type system out there. So I plan to hook this up, and This is a piece of the system that I'm going to reuse when I do my real irrigation system for the whole orchard and for the greenhouse. I'm going to reuse this. So this is kind of an investment that I'll take advantage of later. I just felt like I had a need for it now, so I went ahead and got it. And basically I'm going to hook this up to the supply line for the water that feeds that tank. Essentially, I'll have a branch that comes off the irrigation water that's pumped up here. And when I want to have cleaner water, filtered water, not something you could drink, but something that at least won't have particulate in it, I'll turn this on. I'll turn the branch for this on. And then this is what will feed that tank that goes to the gravity feed irrigation system. And then I'm also going to use this to feed the pool when I refill the pool, because I have to fill the pool. I have to fill the pool because it evaporates, and my drinking water situation here, normally you just fill the pool from the tap water, right? Because that's clean. It's basically pure water, drinking water. But I have a shortage of drinking water. We actually don't even have enough just to use for the house. It's not a huge shortfall, but we are using a little more than we're getting from the well. And we have a storage tank here. I'll show you. Just give me a little background on my water situation. And this goes into why I'm using the gravity feed system to begin with. So I got a well pump. It pumps out of the ground there into a 2,000 gallon storage tank. And this is a really low producing well. It's not even the minimum necessary for the county, really. It's just a fraction of that. And so it provides us some water, but we actually use more than we're getting from the well. And so slowly this tank goes empty over the period of maybe a couple weeks. So I get a tanker truck that comes out and they fill this thing up with drinking water every so often. The tanker truck will hold 4,500 gallons. Of course, this is only 2,000, so I pay for the whole load regardless of whether I use it all. So what I did is I actually bought this. This is a 2,500 gallon storage tank. It's suitable for potable water. I bought this new, and this is full right now. It's full of water because last time the tanker truck came out, I had him put 2,000 in there and then 2,500 in here. So when this goes empty, I won't have to call the tanker truck again. I'll just, siphon it from that tank into this tank, and then I'll be good for another couple weeks. That's why I had to use a gravity feed irrigation system using irrigation water, and because I couldn't use the pressurized house water. When I was in Virginia, I just hooked up an irrigation system to the house. And it was pressurized all the time because it was, plugged into the city water, the house water. And so there was a pressure source all the time, and then the valve would open and you get 120 or 100 pound. What is the water pressure? Is it 100 pounds? I think so. Anyway, I would get that water pressure, and that would be the force for the water coming out of the hoses. I couldn't do that here because the irrigation setup is just really funky. There's not even a good way to turn it on and off. It's kind of set up on a irrigation controller, and I tried figuring out how to set it up on just a switch, but it's 240 volts controlled by 30 volt DC control power, and it's just really confusing how to actually how to fix the wiring on it. So I ended up just leaving it. This is the mess here of irrigation. There's the controller and the piping and whatnot. So when you turn it on, it pressurizes the system, the pump's down at the creek run, and it connects in here, and you get basically pressurized irrigation water out of this. Problem is sometimes you don't have suction because the suction is exposed to the air, and so it ends up cavitating the pumps, and then they won't pump, or it gets down in the mud and then it won't pump in that case either. So it's really troublesome. And so really what I wanted to do is just be able to turn on the system, fill up a tank, and have that be good for a period of time. And so and then just use that tank, use gravity elevation in order to have a pressurized water source. So that's why I set it up the way I did. So it's getting late, so I'm not going to be able to do that filter today. I got to get some parts anyway. I need to create some kind of a manifold and or something in order to set up that filter, because it's so huge I just can't like connect it onto the existing pipe there. I'm going to have to set something up. So maybe I'll do that this weekend, set up the that big filter system, and then once I get it set up, I'll probably just drain this water out, because this is not the filtered water. This is just the regular irrigation water. Again, you can see how dirty that is. So I'll drain that out, and then I'll run some filtered water through here, and I'll see if that makes a difference. I expect it probably will. And then if I can get that to work, I'll put those droppers on the ends. That way I can better control the flow coming out. All right, let me dump out this dirty water that I filled up yesterday, and I'll put in some filtered water and see what that looks like. Okay, so I got the new filter set up. You can see here I built a little stand for it to kind of secure it, and then just piped it in with PVC. We've got some bypass valve here, so when I want to just do normal watering, I'll just run it through here, and then when I want to use the filtered water, just isolate that, open up the valves for the filter, and then turn it on. So try it out. Okay, I hear flow. And I was getting just a little bit of leakage out of this vent at the top. I put some graphite tape in there, and that stopped most of the leakage. So I'm not worried about just a little bit of leakage. So I'll just deal with that. But the rest of it seems to be working. So it's pushing water through there right now. So let's go take a look at the flow into the container. I'm obviously getting pretty good flow because the sprinklers are going. Every time I turn on the, I couldn't figure out how to turn off the sprinklers. So every time I turn on the irrigation pump, the sprinklers start going. So obviously getting pretty, a decent amount of water through that filter. It's 120 mesh, and so I thought there was a possibility that it was just so fine and there'd be so much sediment that I wouldn't be getting much water in here. Oh, and I've got some dirt from before. I'm gonna wash that out. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna wash that out, and then I'll fill this up with the filtered water and see if that makes a difference. Okay, so I've finished filling up the tank with the filtered water. So it doesn't look crystal clear, but it has been filtered by the 120 mesh filter. So the particulate size should be small enough that it won't clog up the drippers on the plants. So let's try this out. Open the isolation valve. There we go. And turn it on. Okay, and I hear flow. So I already put the drippers on the plants, although I haven't tried it yet, so this will be my first time seeing it in action. And there is a minimum pressure specification for these drippers. In other words, you need a certain amount of pressure in order for the drips to actually form. And look at that, there's some dripping right there. So that's really nice. And I think the pressure minimum spec was 5 pounds. And I would guess I would guess that's about 15 to 20 feet of elevation, which should be 7.5 to 10 pounds of pressure. So yeah, it works. Oh, what's this? Oh, this is the one. I need to get another tree down here. Yeah, I'll put a dripper on that and bring a tree down. But that's it. So I need to move the rest of my trees down here, but it looks like everything is working properly now. I've got my water source, I've got my automatic timer, the drippers are working properly, the water's purified so that to the extent that it won't clog up the drippers, and yeah, everything's on automatic now. So that's great. Just got to get the rest of the trees hooked up and it should be all set. So this was my first time doing a gravity drain system, or not a gravity drain system, but a gravity drip system, gravity irrigation system. And I'm pretty happy with the results so far. I'll probably switch it to a little bit of leakage there. I'll probably switch it to like a 2-hour frequency, just to water them more frequently with a small amount of dripping. And that should be nice. Boy, some of these trees look really healthy here. This is Exquisito. Looking really healthy. These things have really started to grow quickly now that I got them in the 5-gallon containers and gave them some fertilizer and put them out in the full sun. Really seeing some growth off these things, so that's good to see. Finally, hopefully I'll get some figs this year. My first year growing figs in Northern California. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a nice Memorial Day weekend.